Welcome to Web Handling. My name is Dave Roysum. I am super excited to begin a new mini-series on working with and learning from operators. Since operators often are, or at least should be, the vanguard of problem solving, it is salient for web handlers to also know how to make best use of this resource. I think you will find this series a lot of fun. I know your time is precious, so let's get started. The one thing I hope we will learn from this new series more than anything else is humility. But I think it will be fun because I will share many personal stories where operators taught me humility and, in some cases, humiliation. Still, I find the hard lessons learned from operators slightly easier to take than from co-workers or bosses. In addition to sharing stories, I will also share a few operator likes and dislikes that I've learned along the way. I will also share some tips on how to know if they know what they are doing. Finally, these and other topics covered in this series will help us pick our problem-solving partners, which should often include a lead operator. So, what are my street creds, so to speak, on this subject of working with operators? Well, probably the most salient is the experience learned, sometimes the hard way, in about 1,000 plants. There I've worked shoulder to shoulder with uncountable operators. Let me begin with my story about an operator who was running a brand new high-speed rewinder costing millions of dollars. The speed, 8,500 feet per minute, and the cost, about $5 million, are nothing remarkable in themselves, because there are 10,000 lead operators for web machines of similar caliber. The work was slow, so I chatted with the operator to pass the time. Note, the first lesson here is to not bother an operator who is busy. Wait until they have caught up and have some time. In any case, we got on the subject of hobbies. He said that his was reading. I asked him, well, like what kind of books? His replies were examples I'd never heard of, but they seemed to be medieval literature, something like Chaucer or Shakespeare. I remarked how unusual his reading habit was. He then explained that until recently he had been a college professor at a local community college who taught Old English literature, among other subjects. Well, that got me thoroughly puzzled. I asked, why would a PhD be running a winder? His reply made sense. First, the pay was better. And second, he got to read what interested him most rather than a student's essays. The lesson learned here was don't judge, at least just yet. Of course, soon we will almost certainly have to judge capabilities and skill set in order to pick, or at least make best use of our problem-solving operating partners. I will show how to objectively measure operator performance in an upcoming clip. Another of my early professional life-changing events was working with an operator on a new core injector automation tool. This time and back-saving device did not ever work in the years since startup. The problem was that the drive motor kicked out when the button was pushed. This device had worked at checkout on the shop floor, but failed to work when installed in the mill. It was checked by the mechanical engineer, who reviewed his motor sizing calculations. It was checked again by the electrical department, who reviewed motor torque requirements and possible reasons for kicking out. It was checked yet again by the paper mill's maintenance people, because they also wanted to get that time-saving device working that they had paid for. Every one of the technical people and engineers failed to find a reason for the motor kicking out. On a visit there for other reasons, I casually asked the operator what he knew about the problem. He grabbed me by the shirt and hauled me to the back side of the machine. He pointed to the moving arm and said, "See? It's binding on the frame." Somehow this equipment must have shifted during transportation and assembly, causing the year-long failure. I asked the operator why he didn't tell anybody about it. He replied, "Because no one asked." Well, since that incident, I make sure I ask, and I make sure that I listen quite closely. Then make my judgment later, when I have time to carefully reflect on what I've been told by the operator. Let me share a similar story which demonstrates not only operator knowledge, but incredible creativity. The details I teach in the advanced section of my Web 101 course, so I will only offer an overview here. The problem I was assigned to work on as a consultant was a telescope-like winding defect called dishing, a not uncommon problem on wide two-drum paper winders. This cost the mill upward of $30,000 per month in internal waste and customer complaints. Dishing is actually a very long-standing problem, perhaps 100 years old in newspaper and other mills. Well, this operator come up with a no-cost solution. However, it required very creative thinking, as well as breaking the long-standing guidelines for spreader adjustments taught by service engineers. This is one of the many times where an operator and I both had decades of experience with the winder or other web equipment, but clearly theirs was worth more than mine. One last story for this show is to illustrate how a good operator can protect you from your own stupidity, possibly saving your career and possibly even saving your life. For several years, I did advanced research on high-speed two-drum winder vibration. Among the analysis tools I used was state-of-the-art finite element computer modeling, as well as modal vibration analysis using very expensive FFT vibration analyzers. I have written and taught on this subject, including my Web 201.55b and Web 201.68s clips. In any case, very early in this segment of my career, I was working at a Pensacola, Florida paper mill, which had a terrible winder vibration problem. I had modeled the system on a computer and found that there was a smooth spot at a speed higher than the operators were accustomed to running. I asked the operator to try a higher speed. He said, "No." I pressed the matter harder. He threw up his hands, twisted the speed knob to red line, and walked away. Within 10 seconds, the winder blew up, literally, 10 tons of rolls winding at thousands of feet per minute escaped containment due to vibration. Fortunately, no one was hurt, and the winder also was undamaged, though it did take the mill nearly an hour to clean up the mess. Clearly, the operator should have been a little bit more responsible by not risking machine damage by doing something he knew from experience might be risky. I think he was just pissed off at some arrogant young engineer telling him what's what. However, the problem was at least as much mine. I should have listened carefully with both ears to what the operator was telling me and then proceeded with utmost caution. In short, a lesson in humility accompanied by a stiff dose of humiliation thrown in. There are 3 starting points for a more detailed discussion of problem solving. The first is my industrial problem solving book that is a good companion to my industrial problem solving course of the same name. The second is the must-have 750-page Web Handling Handbook, written by myself, Tim Walker, and Dr. Dilwyn Jones. This is where we would turn for the sciences of web handling, which can guide us in more effective problem solving by not reinventing the wheel. The caution here is that science is never complete and sometimes not correct, at least for some odd situations, as we've just seen in these 3 stories. Last but not least is my award-winning and trademark Web 101 class that has been taken by about 5,000 people, just like you. Here you will learn about web handling, winding, common converting operations like slitting, as well as a good sprinkling of problem-solving techniques. Thank you so very much for joining me in this mini-series on working with operators. I hope you found these stories fun and inspiring. Please join me in the next clip where we will continue our discussion of working with operators most effectively by knowing a bit about a few of their likes and dislikes. If you have a topic you would like to hear about, let me know in the comment section below. If you found anything interesting or useful here, please like and share and subscribe. See you next time.